What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. We got week 2 predictions for the NFL 2025 season. Let's just jump into it. Now, if you watched the last video, you will know that if I'm counting correctly, which is pretty hard for me to do, I do believe that I went 10-6 on my predictions last week. So this week is going to be pretty interesting because we got some good matchups. Now, I am looking down because I got notes of everything that I want to keep track of and factor into all these predictions. So Thursday Night Football, I am making this prediction on Thursday morning, 1:34 a.m. So this is either coming out while the game is happening, a little bit before the game is happening, or way after. Regardless, we got the Washington Redskins and the Green Bay Packers. Now, both of these teams won their week 1 matchups, so they are both 1-0 on the season. I believe the Packers are 1-0 in their home jerseys and on their home turf, whereas the Redskins are 1-0 in away jerseys and 1-0 at home. This week's matchup, the Redskins are at Green Bay. Now, I did not watch the Packers-Lions matchup, but they were dominant throughout that entire game in terms of points. Love had a decent, not great, but decent performance. 16 for 22, 188 yards, 2 passing touchdowns. Josh Jacobs, 19 rushes, 66 yards, 1 touchdown. Field goal unit responsible for 9 points as far as I know. And I think this final score was like 27-13 or something like that. Packers are now ranked 6th in total offensive points, 7th place in points allowed. So they are off to a hot start. The Lions really didn't give it their best shot. So it's going to be an interesting matchup going up against a winning team like Washington, who is 14th in offensive points and 1st place in defensive points allowed because of their score against the Giants. Both of these teams are also 1-0 in the division. Now, going into this week, injury report as far as time of recording this, Noah Brown on the Commanders and running back Austin Eckler are both questionable. So those are 2 pretty significant losses for an offense that was already pretty slow against the Giants. Whereas the Packers have so many different players, offensively and defensively, that I didn't even write them all. But literally, like, some of the only receiving and offensive talent they have: wide receiver Jaden Reed, Matthew Golden, Dontavian Wicks, Micah Parsons, offensive tackle Zach Tom, offensive guard Aaron Banks, and even more defensive players. Literally all questionable. So I have no idea how to take that. Packers are at home, but they have so many players that might be out. And Washington has a couple, but they're core players and they're away. Statistically, they're good because they went up against the Giants offense, but I don't have it in me to say that the Washington defense is going to be good enough to stop the Packers offense. Even with all those weapons out, I think this is going to be a slower game, lower scoring game, but I do think that Green Bay is going to have the advantage of being at home, and both of these teams having offensive weapons out, I'm going to go with Green Bay. Next up, first Sunday matchup, we got the Giants at the Cowboys. Now, Dallas is 0-1 in away games so far, and the New York Giants are exactly the same. This time, Dallas is at home, wearing the whites, the jerseys in which I believe they're also 0-1 in so far. Now, Dak played well last week, but his receivers, like even a star like CeeDee Lamb, let him down really badly. He went 21 for 34, 188 yards, not good. 17th in offensive points, 22nd place in defensive points allowed. However, they are looking at a Giants team right now that really doesn't look good in any capacity. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I will never have faith in any offense that has Russell Wilson as the starting quarterback. I can't. He went 17 for 37, 168 yards. He was terrible as usual. Everyone's blaming the O-line, but everyone blames the O-line for every single team he's ever been a part of. So I will never blame another O-line again. Also, look at how Aaron Rodgers looked behind the same O-line 1 year after Russ left Pittsburgh. Like, I'm not buying that excuse anymore. I don't care. 32nd last place in offensive points, and what does that say? 20th in points allowed. Not great. Honestly, with Lamb taking accountability in the media, saying like those dropped passes were my fault, I gotta fix it. Dak already playing well, and the overwhelming majority of Cowboys fans seeming like they're okay with Micah Parsons being gone. Like, they don't think that's gonna come to bite them in the ass at all. Also, with them being at home, I'm gonna go with the upward momentum of Dallas. I think they're gonna get better. I think they're gonna take week 1 and that performance into this week and use that as fuel. Honestly, the morale for both of these teams right now were not good, but until Jackson Dart gets put in as the starting quarterback, I don't buy it. All right, next up we got Seattle at Pittsburgh. Now, the Seahawks are 0-1 in their home jerseys and 0-1 at home. Not great. 27th in offensive points, 13th in points allowed. That is terrible, especially when you're going up against a 49ers offense that seems to have been injured during that game, considering Kittle's now out for, like, what did they say, up to 5 weeks. Purdy's questionable. I think Shanahan just did a press conference saying that they are looking for a new quarterback to put in while he's possibly out. It was a low-scoring game between the two teams. 13th in points allowed. I mean, for that, it's not great to perform that. It's week 1. Darnold's learning a new offense. Head coach going into his 2nd year with big expectations. Division game, and it really was only over because of a stupid mistake. It's just, you don't want to see that happen, especially not going up against a tough Pittsburgh team that placed 3rd in offensive points and actually surprisingly 28th in in points allowed. So who knows, maybe they'll have a shot there. I mean, the Jets first time offense looked really good out there, but I think that's just because of the coaching and the skill that they have. I don't know, we've seen time and time again Aaron falling out with an offense even when underperforming defense. The only time we've really not seen that was in New York in his last year of Green Bay, where he just was not set up with offensive pieces at all. He has them in Pittsburgh. It really sucks because this is the Super Bowl matchup. This was my prediction for who's going to make it to the Super Bowl. I think this would be such a good pairing, and I think both of these teams can improve on their issues later on in the season, especially with their coaching staffs. I literally said Seahawks are an underrated, like such a dark horse for the NFC, and I still believe that, but damn, I think they go 0-2 here. I'm going to give it to the Steelers. Next up, we got Rams versus Titans. This is a matchup I'm not looking forward to at all. I think we all are kind of on the same page of who's going to win this. The Rams, I believe, are 1-0 at home and in their away jerseys. That's a good combination. Whereas the Titans are 0-1, 0-1 away, and 0-1 in their away jerseys. Tennessee is 28th in offensive points and 18th in defensive points allowed. Now, they actually did a pretty good job on defense stopping our offense, but it was more of us just kind of shooting ourselves in the foot, which was very frustrating to watch. Rams are actually surprisingly 23rd in offensive points and 3rd in defensive points allowed. It was a surprisingly low-scoring game with the Texans of all teams, and the Texans have a tough defense, so like, you know, not super surprising in that regard, but damn, 23rd in offensive points, like that's crazy. So when you, I mean, Rams 23rd, Titans 28th. There's no huge notable players on the injury report for either team. I mean, Tennessee has a safety out, and the Rams have 2 offensive guards and a tight end. I honestly kind of believe that this could swing either way. Cam Ward and the Titans' biggest problem last week was receivers, you know, dropping the passes. Overall, Cam was making good decisions. He was making plays. He was really trying to drive it downfield. And the Rams just had a low-scoring game against a very competitive team whose big strong point was their defense. So if the Titans can bring the same energy that they did to Denver's offense, I mean, we were struggling offensively. Rams are ranked 23rd offensively in terms of points. The Titans might have a shot here. I really don't know. The Rams are 1-0 at home. Like I said, they're going to be away this week. Titans are 1-0 away. They're going to be at home this week. This is so stupid. I'm going to go with the Titans. I know it's wrong. And I'll take the L on my record if it doesn't happen, but I kind of feel good about the Titans. I mean, week 2, it's expected for a rookie quarterback to lose his week 1 game. Week 2, however, I don't know what the stats are for that. Then we got a big division matchup, actually 2 in a row here. First up, we got Bills at the Jets. Now, unfortunately, we have 2 opposite situations here. The Bills are 1-0, 1-0 at home and 1-0 in their home jerseys, whereas the Jets are 0-1, 0-1 at home and 0-1 in their home jerseys. So, believe it or not, there's kind of a lean here. Offensively, the Bills rank 1st in total yards and 1st in offensive points, which is huge. Defensively, however, 30th in total yards and 31st in points allowed. Very high scoring game with the Ravens. They just eked out a win at the very end. And let's be honest, if the Ravens passing defense didn't completely give up on those later drives, the Bills are losing that one, and their stats probably look even worse. On the other hand, the Jets are 6th place in offensive total yards and 5th in offensive points. That was also a pretty high scoring game against the Steelers. Defensively, 12th place in yards allowed, 30th in points allowed. Now, points allowed statistics for both teams pretty similar. The Jets did way better in allowing yards, went up against a super efficient Steelers offense and ranked way better. The Bills record against this team, I mean, dude, I kind of feel like people are going to be hyping up the Bills coming off that win, and the Bills are going to feel pretty hyped up going into New York. They should be expecting a big matchup because this could be a trap game by a lot of standards. I don't know what it is. I know I'm probably shooting myself in the foot with these records, but I just feel so optimistic. If I'm remembering correctly, the Jets lost by 1 possession, and it was just because like that final drive, they were trying to get it downfield. There were not enough sideline routes, and I think they're going to take that into this week with the game planning. I got to go with the Jets. I'm really excited about it. Then for that second division game in the AFC East, we get the Patriots in Miami. Patriots are 0-1 at home and wearing the home jerseys. Good thing they're away this week. But ironically, Dolphins are also 0-1 away, wearing their away jerseys, and they're at home. So if you take any stock in that stuff, it swing either way. Offensively, Patriots are 12th in yards, 25th in points, 26th in yards allowed, and 14th in points allowed. So in terms of offense, yards, you see some upside. Points allowed on defense, you see some upside. Whereas in Miami, there is literally no strong point here. The stats are not good. The rankings are not good offensively, defensively. Their team doesn't look good. The morale doesn't look good. Their coach has not seemed inspired for the last 2 years. It's really not good. And if we check the injury report, Patriots got 2 corners, and what does that say? Charles Woods? They're questionable. Whereas the Dolphins have a bunch of offensive and defensive players, including running back Jalen Wright, questionable. questionable for the week. Honestly, until the Dolphins prove that they can still win games in a division game like this, even when they're at home. I mean, it's summer, it's not winter, you know? They don't really have the weather advantage yet. I'm gonna say the Dolphins are gonna lose this one. I gotta go with the Patriots. I mean, it was a close game against the Raiders. There was just stupid mistakes, stupid throws from Drake May. It didn't look good throughout all the game, but I think Josh McDaniels is over there. He knows how to work with quarterbacks. He knows how to shape things up as a coordinator in New England. I got hope. If the Colts and Daniel Jones can beat the Dolphins that badly, the Dolphins can be beaten that badly by a young team. All right, then we got the Jaguars versus Bengals. Jags are away this week. They are 1-0 at home and in their home jerseys, whereas the Bengals are 1-0 away with the away jerseys. Jacksonville is 9th in total yards offensively and 9th in offensive points, 8th in total yards defensively, and 4th in points allowed. Now, they did go up against the Panthers, so you can't really take much stock in that. However, similar situation with the Bengals, 31st in total offensive yards with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, after really emphasizing that they need to play preseason so that they can win the early games. And I mean, they won, but by 1 point against the Browns. Not great. 20th in offensive points, 20th in total defensive yards allowed, and 11 in points allowed against the Browns, who they beat by 1 point. I do not want to get hurt by Jacksonville again. I want them to do well so badly. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Trevor Lawrence is just going through it coaching wise. He cannot get a break. This offense has so many great core pieces. I want to see them do well, but I don't want to overrate them after they went up against the Panthers. That being said, if the Bengals are struggling week 1 to beat the Browns by 1 point, I'm gonna go with Jacksonville. I don't care. Especially if you're these teams that like people like me are optimistic about, like the Jags. If you want to win games, if you want to improve as a team, these early games where the offenses and defenses of what could be playoff teams are looking a little bit weaker, these are the games you need to win. Next up, we got 49ers versus the Saints. Now, the Saints had a mid-off with the Cardinals last week. I believe that was one of the matchups that I was wrong about. 16th in total offensive yards. I can't say if that says 26th or 20th in offensive points, but neither is good. 13th in total yards allowed and 15th in points allowed. Whereas the 49ers, like I mentioned earlier, Kittle's out for weeks. I think they had a lot of wide receivers that were questionable too, if I'm not mistaken. And then Brock Purdy looking like he could possibly be out, which is just terrible. So even though they were 8th in total offensive yards, that's not looking good. They were also 21st in offensive points, 4th in yards allowed, and 9th in points allowed. But again, like I mentioned earlier, struggling Seahawks offense that didn't really look the greatest, so I'm not taking too much stock in that. Honestly, with the inconsistency and the worry around San Francisco, I cannot in good faith go with them when they're away. This is a team that I really wanted to see do well, but like again, they're just injured. Like, you can't have this. And the Saints actually had a really close game that they could have easily beaten against the Cardinals, so there's stuff to tighten up. Kellen Moore's first year as a head coach. Spencer Rattler is learning a new offense, and I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think that he's a quarterback that can do well if he's given a chance. I'm gonna go ahead and go with the Saints. Next up, we got Ravens Browns. I don't even want to spend too much time on this one. It's the Ravens. They're away. They're coming off a bad loss. I think they're gonna be pissed off going into a division game after giving up a huge lead like that, 40-25, and losing the game in the fourth quarter. That being said, it was against the Bills offense, which, as we stated before, was first place in both total yards and points, and the Cleveland Browns are not the Bills, so I'm gonna go with the Ravens. Then we got another division matchup between the Lions and the Bears. Now, this one is actually pretty exciting because I have no idea which way this one could swing. I'm personally, instinctively, and like optimistically going to go with the Bears. Now, I don't enjoy seeing the Lions do poorly. You know, this is a team that like for the past couple years I've been saying I hope the Lions and the Ravens go to the Super Bowl because that would be such a good matchup where you don't care who wins, you're just happy for both of them. That being said, the Bears had a terrible loss last week. This is their second game in a row at home. I would love to see them redeem themselves. They had a tough division matchup against the Vikings. First time quarterback, first time NFL game, and they blew it. They blew it in the fourth quarter, which was just so tough. You got the smear campaigns ramping up against Caleb Williams. I want him to have a win. I want to see a win. Dude, it's really frustrating, and I want him to start doing well. I'm putting all logic aside. I want the Bears to win this one. It's not even that I think they will. I just want them to. I think they have it in them. I think they could do it. I think the Lions are still trying to iron stuff out with their coordinators, and their matchup last week really was not close, even at the end when they started to ramp up. All right, then we got my team versus the Colts. Now, stat-wise, we don't look good offensively. In terms of total yards, we were 15th and 18th in offensive points. Not too bad, but not the greatest. However, in total yards allowed, we really shut them down. I think, what was it? We allowed -2 yards in the second half. Now, that was against the Titans, so going up against a team that scored 33 points last week is a bit of a different situation, but again, they were against the Dolphins, so even though we were against the Titans. Like, we have the opportunity to really humble Daniel Jones, Colts, and the Colts fans. We were 5th in defensive points allowed. Really didn't feel like it. We're 1-0, 1-0 in our home jerseys, 1-0 at our home stadium. This is our first game away. Colts are at home. I mean, they're gonna have fans out there cheering and supporting and wanting them to do well, so they could start off strong, but I believe over time, over the course of the game, our defense is going to heat up. I would love to see that change immediately. I would love to see Bo start to heat up. The passing game really wasn't good. The run game wasn't as prominent as I would have loved, but we have the opportunity to change that. We thrive under pressure. I think an away game is just what we need. We beat them last time, even when it really looked like we were going to lose. Our defense and our offense have gotten even better since then. Let's show that. I got Denver. All right, then next up we have the Carolina Panthers versus the Arizona Cardinals. I'll just go with the Cardinals since they won last week. Aside from that, like, I really wish I cared enough to read off any of the stats that we have here, regardless of who wins, regardless of how high scoring this game is with two terrible teams going up against each other. I won't care. At the end of what seems like every single year, the Panthers managed to give general NFL fans a bunch of hope, but like, we know who this team is. I keep saying it, but like, that's the best way to put it. We know what that organization is. No good comes from it. They couldn't do anything with Cam Newton. Why would I believe that they're going to do right by Bryce Young? Like, why would they do that? Adam Thielen literally solely specifically didn't retire this season so that he could train up the Panthers wide receivers and lead the offense, and then they traded him. In the Arizona Cardinals, I mean, literally last year, the division was there for the taking and they didn't take it. So I don't care. Then we have a great rematch game, Eagles versus Kansas City. I think this revenge game is going to go in the Eagles' favor as long as it's a fair game. Like I said last time, if it's a fair game, I'm going to go with the opponent. If it's like last year and their coworkers are working overtime, we're going to go with the Kansas City refs. Then we got a good NFC game, Vikings versus Falcons. Now, I'm really excited for this because I loved watching JJ McCarthy in that big comeback win, whereas with Atlanta, same story. Losing by a field goal, like, damn. Now, statistically, the Vikings looked terrible, and you know, the box score for last week's game was terrible. The only metric that they really looked good in was in offensive points, where they're 8th. Meanwhile, the Falcons, I mean, they were in a position to win the game. 10th in total yards, 16th in offensive points, 9th in total yards allowed, and 21st in points allowed. However, at this point, the Vikings, starting with their young, essentially rookie quarterback, they're 1-0 away and wearing their away jerseys. I believe they're away in this game, if I'm not mistaken. Nope, they're at home. They handled the pressure of a Chicago crowd pretty well. And the Falcons are 0-1 at home. I got no confidence for them going into this one if they couldn't win against the Bucks when the game was pretty much right there. I think the Vikings could pull through again. So I'm gonna go with the Vikings. I feel really good about that team. And I'll say it again, Kevin O'Connell offense, Brian Flores defense, you can't go wrong with it. O'Connell has lifted up way worse quarterbacks in the past. They'll continue to pull through with JJ. Then we got a good matchup between the Texans and the Buccaneers. Houston lost a very, very, very surprisingly low scoring game against the Rams, whereas the Bucks just eked out a win against the Falcons. Now, the Texans could be able to put up a lot more points against the Bucks defense because it was extremely bad last year. Can't remember how it looked last week. Statistically, 23rd in total yards allowed, 17th in points allowed. Not great. Whereas the Texans defense, even though they gave, you know, the win to the Rams, looks good statistically, looked good on the field. I think they could really do damage to this Bucks offense. And I think the Texans have a lot of offensive guys questionable going into this week. So honestly, I'm going to need to see the Texans really start to heat up and show that they can win these tough games against competitive teams before I root for them. And with the Bucks, if they keep eking out wins like this, I mean, you can't go wrong with it. Baker Mayfield, gunslinger offense with Bucky Irving, all those receivers that he has at his disposal. I mean, it's just kind of offensively, it's the opposite story of Houston right now. So like I said, the Texans defense could cause some trouble and really change the story for Tampa Bay. But for right now, I'm going to go with the Bucks. I got them winning. And last but not least, we finish off with a division game that I'm super excited about. The Chargers versus the Raiders. This is going to be a good matchup. Chargers looked great week 1. 1-0 at home, even though they were literally not. 5th in offensive yards, 7th in offensive points, 22nd in defensive yards allowed. Not great. 19th in points. Whereas the Raiders had a pretty low scoring and kind of underwhelming for the most part game against the Patriots, where they started off really, really strong in the beginning and then just slowed way the hell down. Eventually won the game to my surprise. That was one of my predictions that I was wrong about. Raiders are 1-0 away right now, and they are at home for this game. 7th in total yards, 19th 19th in offensive points, 21st in yards allowed, and 8th in points allowed. Again, that was against a Patriots offense that was struggling pretty heavily, whereas the passing game, pretty much all game for the most part, I mean, mostly in the second half, but like for the most part, the core just looked good. Chargers passing offense just like was so solid all week for a season opener. Even though they're going up against a Pete Carroll defense, whereas the Chiefs defense looked terrible last week, I still think they could do a similar amount of damage, even away, like they technically were last week. And yeah, I'm gonna put my money on Harbaugh for now. We finally get the Harbaugh-Pete Carroll rivalry, and I'm really excited for it. So those are just my takes. Let me know yours down in the comments below. That is the video. Thank you for watching.